Oh, okay. Perfect. We're back.
And we
Hey.
back. And we back. Nah, nah,
All right.
nah.
We were talking about Rengar and Ivern and what performance unenhanced ducks can bring to the table. But uh, what about on the other side with Odyssey Royals?
Odyssey Royals is a team I am very excited to see. They are also a newcomer to the league, and
Hmm.
I'm super duper excited. I'm so sorry, but I love bot lane. One
Yeah.
thing that I have been seeing from their support solo queue is playing a little bit of the support Swain, and
Yep.
man, that ultimate is so deadly now. It literally lasts forever until you can kill it, and it makes him so tanky. I personally like Swain in the solo lane. It feels like the damage scales just like crazy, crazy well. But out of support, if you make the mistake of focusing the Swain, it is lights out for you and your AD carry.
Yeah. And that's a lot of pressure. Like you only have 3 initial bans for your team. And then obviously if they were wanting to pick it up in the first rotation, you're not going to have any other options. But I mean, that's not enough given I mean, we see Karma, we see Viego, we see Gnar with a ton of presence. Just a lot of other what I would consider some priority picks. Even like the Zillion Bard could be an option for target here if they want to look more towards the support at YBK. But I mean, these picks kind of define the team really early if they want to find prio. So I would look for teams to give over something intentionally and then try to, or at least have a pre-baked response coming in the rest of the draft.
Do you think it's good to kind of force pre-baked responses though? I feel like oftentimes whenever you do that, you lose your ability to kind of adapt in the draft, and
Oh yeah.
sometimes it feels like there's that one pick where if you lock that champion in, even though it's maybe not what you had prepped before, it can really affect the way that you play.
Yeah, absolutely. But that really is on the team or the coach who is doing the draft to make sure that you really aren't like just pigeonholing yourself. Uh yes, doing some of those practices can kind of eliminate some of the other things. Like maybe you forget about a Malphite top and you drafted all AD and you're like, oh uh and that happens, right? But
Definitely.
here here these teams have a lot of experience. They come in with quite a bit of amateur competitive uh, games under their belt, and you would assume that they what is prepped or what is drafted is relatively intentional. Very little I've noticed has been um, random, or just
Mhm.
kind of like fly by the seat of your pants kind of drafts. As
Yeah.
we see a lot of like late game scaling control taken away here from on the side of Odyssey Royals from performance on enhanced ducks, and we get one of those
And
late game champions there.
one thing that I want to note here too is the Olaf band. We are playing with the new Olaf and the new Talia, and this Olaf is just so powerful.
Yeah.
I would have been interested to have seen where it's gone. LS thinks it's a top laner, but obviously people are more used to it as a jungler.
Yep.
So it's a really powerful pick, and personally I like seeing it banned out here. And Odyssey Royals grabbing the Wukong, which is another really powerful jungler on this
Yep.
patch. It is so strong now that the Wukong is able to go over walls with his W. Man, this
Yeah.
champion, whew, absolute top tier jungler at the moment, I think.
Yeah, and can affect every lane fairly easily. The clear is pretty quick. Has honestly its own setup. You don't necessarily need a lane with a ton of CC to make it work. The double knockup is more than enough post level 6. So Wukong, very good facilitator. Honestly, feels like that new and fresh Xin Zhao right now.
Mhm.
With a little less early game and a little more scaling.
And the Wukong, the way that the Shadow Clone Jutsu kind of works is you dash out a little bit, and the clone lasts for so long. You can be
Yeah.
invisible for so long. The setup really doesn't even matter. As performance unenhanced ducks, looking for the Tristana Soraka
I
here.
hope so.
I
I
would like to
love
see it.
Tristana lanes.
I
Yeah,
would
I
like
mean
to see it.
every time I see Tristana locked, it is a bloodbath in the bottom lane, and those are so ah
Okay,
no.
Reed, I'm sorry. I gotta tell you, I just have to be honest. I like
Uh-huh.
this lane better. See, the
Yeah.
problem with the Tristana Soraka is your lane is a little disjointed at what it wants to do. The Tristana obviously wants to rocket jump in. Soraka is just like staying way back, like, all right, I'll catch up to you in a minute. Don't worry, I'll be there. So it's kind of disjointed in that way. But the Zaya, depending on whether or not they go the Eclipse build or the Gale Force build, I think that they can both kind of play for
Mhm.
poke in this lane. I think this
True.
lane makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I mean, from a caster's point of view, anything that's really volatile and super, I mean, like Tristana doesn't have an engage range she doesn't like. It just always is possible for her. So,
I don't know.
in the
Tactical is doing
resets,
some Malphite ults in with the Tristana.
I mean, we don't have to talk about it. Tactical, I don't know where he's been recently anyway, but now we get the Rengar ban, uh the Viego ban on the other side, all things we were talking about earlier. Jarvan,
Mhm.
I think here is super good. Jarvan Gangplank, very very good combo. Barrels are obviously very easy to connect whenever they can't go anywhere. But more importantly than that, the ultimate also makes it to where they're slow so that Jarvan can one get into range, or two kind of like hot pot him, similar to like a Rumble Jarvan or something like that. Very
Yeah,
very solid.
the Jarvan pick would be absolutely Exodia here. I mean, you already have the Zaya
Yeah,
feathers. Either build is going to make that effective, and then
yeah.
you have the Gangplank with a little, Japanese steak putting on top of the hot pot.
Hmm.
It would be absolutely lights out. So I love to see that ban here from Odyssey.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, performance on enhanced ducks would argue that there are no bad decks in their grandfather's or no bad cards in their grandfather's deck. So, even though the Jarvan is good, even Karibo has some use, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I've seen like maybe 3 episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! And that was
And
like
then
the extent.
Odyssey Royals takes the Jarvan Blue Eyes White Dragon and rips it up and says, "Yeah, we won't let you have this."
Yeah,
And
yeah. That's
and
true.
they
Yeah,
so they
Matt
grab the
Matt just
Lilia
telling
here,
us that that was the funniest joke he's heard all year, and I do appreciate it,
which
Matt.
this so the Lilia is interesting because now we have a flex between the Wukong and the Lilia. One of them, could go top and jungle, so that kind of
Mm.
changes things a little bit. As we grab a Xin Zhao and they're hovering Zillion, you
I
can't Killian the
love, love,
Zillion.
love, 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 love. Okay, so Zilly
Top.
mid, it can stall the Jinx reset, which honestly, like
Great point.
3 seconds extra that, let's say, Zillion buys you before Jinx gets a kill, might be enough. That might be enough, and that is super good. The slow on Lilia does have a huge impact. I
Great
mean, she is
response.
she is a huge like movement based champion, and if she doesn't have the ability to make those moves and get into the spots where she wants to be, that's going to be a lot tougher. Vigar, obviously a great pick into it, but I mean, I think that performance on enhanced ducks are just really happy with their scaling and their opportunities with the Xin Zhao early. But once again, I mean, this not a bad response in the Vigar.
Yeah, so I think I tend to prefer Odyssey Royals draft here a little bit. Performance on Enhanced Ducks, while I think they have a lot of power in their draft, it kind of feels to me like, if I recall, we're on patch 12.9. I think Performance on Enhanced Ducks draft would have been really, really powerful, like 12.6, before Zaya had been hit with double nerfs,
Hmm.
before Xin Zhao had been nerfed pretty heavily.
Hmm.
The Gangplank is obviously still very powerful. This champion is
Yeah.
just absolutely busted, but very, very difficult to execute on. So
Yeah.
that is going to definitely be the champion to keep your eyes on. I think the Zillions and Zhao combo is still obviously very, very strong. But these champions have just been hit so much. Jinx has too, but Bard has seen some pretty good buffs recently.
Yeah.
Kong is giga strong. Vagar is, oh my god, so powerful, and the cage just lets you control space so easily. I think
Yeah.
Odyssey Royals draft, if I had to put a word to it, feels more modern, and I really really like that about this.
I do want to point something out. We did have a flex with the Lilia or the Wukong. This has to be a Wukong top, I think, just because Lilia into Wukong or Lilia into Gangplank, it feels pretty bad. Um, And given that the Wukong was picked after the Gangplank and then the Lilia was blinded somewhat, I would assume they're happier blinding that jungle at R4 than they would have, blinding it at R1. But
So Reed, you're the top expert here, right?
oh yeah, No,
So
I've never been wrong about anything.
I would think that Lilia has an easier time kind of dancing around the gangplank barrels, and it's easier for her to play around that. What do you agree? Because I think the Lilia top
No,
might be okay.
Gangplank barrels should be relatively instant. Because obviously the first barrel is going to be slow. It's the second one, you Q, and as the bullet's in the air, or your auto attack if you're doing that. Those should be an instant because it's like place the barrel and it's already popped. And then you've got like maybe like a half of a second. But if you place it right on her model and she doesn't have full stacks of her movement speed passive, you should be able to hit her in lane whenever, no boots, relatively predictive
Hmm.
pathing, and then whenever she's going to be contesting certain parts of the wave, you can predict that as well. So
That's fair. And you know
yeah,
what? Now that I think about it as well, with the Wukong, now that the W kind of dashes a little bit, if you put a
big.
barrel under you, you just dash out of it and you're good. You don't
Big.
get hit ever.
And Gangplank is actually similar to Gnar in a sense that if you can get onto Gangplank really doesn't have too much of a good time. Gangplank likes to play at range, likes to keep you at arm's length, land those slows, and then get to you on his time.
Hmm.
So something like a Wukong can really disrupt a lot of those patterns.
You know what? Gangplank is also similar to Gnar in that he is one of the 4 champions that Summit can play in the top lane. Boom,
Oh.
roasted.
You mean Jobless Summit? We're bringing in the this man doesn't have a paycheck right now.
Hey, Summit Xflow Esports is doing tryouts right now. If you're
Whoa, easy, easy. I'm pretty sure he doesn't make the
he's
cutoff.
definitely over the ranked limit. Definitely,
Yeah, the elo
100%.
cutoff for
Yeah.
sure. All right, well,
So Reed, I've already kind of spoken a little bit about which draft I prefer here. Which draft are you liking, bud?
man, I'm gonna say Odyssey Royals just because uh their comp honestly might be a little easier to execute, and I am all about like less buttons to push the better. The less I've got to think about things, great. Me press Q, me win game kind of mentality.
Hmm.
And Odyssey Royals has that better, in my opinion, than performance on enhanced ducks. But you know, it it's so much more comfort than anything that it's impossible to kind of like win this on paper, right? Uh,
Yeah,
but I
especially
mean, damage.
es-
Let's talk about it though. Like Zillion damage being the only AP kind of makes me a little scared.
especially
For
when you consider the Wukong passive, he's getting that little bit of
yeah.
extra armor anyway versus these champions. And if Zaya goes the Eclipse build, your Gangplank is going to have to be the one who tears through that Wukong. And as
Mhm.
we've already kind of talked about a little bit, it's pretty
Yeah.
difficult for him to do that.
I mean, Wukong's 100% gonna have Death Stance. Not an ignorable amount of armor in that item. In addition to that, he can also, if he sees like lethality Zaya in the bot lane, and then Gangplank, finishing Prowler's Claw, which is fairly common, then yeah, I mean, a Randuin's, or even like a Frozen Heart, actually, for Lilia or for Wukong would be really, really good. It's not
Hmm.
the best into Gangplank, but it is good into Xin Zhao. It is good into Zaya. I love it for both of those against both of those champions. Obviously, you'll need heal cut. That'll come from Vigar or Lilia, or even Jinx somewhat. But I mean, yeah, that armor and that counter ability there is really really important, or it will be.
Yeah, it doesn't feel great as the Jinx to build any armor pen or heal cut early. You really want to hit that like Kraken. PD is my preferred Zeal item. Versus this comp, I would say you could maybe get away with doing a Runance because they're the way that performance on enhanced ducks comp kind of wants to fight is a little clumped up, so you definitely could get away with Runance in this game. But PD is a little bit more DPS, and then the definitive edge, of course. Once you're on those 3 items, you are just Mr. President. Everybody is putting their abilities to make sure that you are able to right click versus this comp. And I think Jinx has a pretty easy time of doing that so long as the Zinzao doesn't get on top of her.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, why wouldn't you? The man, early game, I think is going to matter. You've got if we're talking about who gets to objectives first and who likes that better,
Hmm.
I think that would be. I mean, both teams obviously want to be there first. But if I were one of these teams or the other, Odyssey Royals would absolutely demand it would be much harder for the Ducks to get into the Royals kind of setup if they're at Dragon or Baron ahead of time, then it would be the other way around. I think that
Mhm.
Wukong has good flanks that they can do. I think that Vigar can like push forward some established positioning with Cage or even just the like W. And Lilia with the bowling ball can fish for certain things. Even a 1 or 2 man sleep just to get into the to draw a line of scrimmage can be really really good because the
Yeah,
burst
definitely.
off of a sleep is huge, right? If you catch, let's say Soraka, or if you catch like a Xin Zhao, uh it's a slept target, and then you've got follow up from Lilia, Vigar, and Wukong onto one target. Like that is a really really tough survive uh like opportunity, right? You don't
That's a
really have
recipe
one
for a one
unless
shot.
unless you Xin Zhao ult right on time, you still only buying yourself 2.5 seconds. So that's not gonna help you a lot.
Yeah, and you don't
this
have
this
Danny
Vigar's
on
gonna
this game.
fish.
You don't
Well,
have
true.
Danny in this game on the Ezreal to knock you out of the sleep prematurely. So that's definitely an advantage that they have going for them
We're
as
all
well.
in A here. What are you doing? Why? Oh
I bow to
God.
my Korean overlords. So one thing that I do also think is interesting from performance unenhanced ducks is I feel like uh none of their lanes early game have priority versus the Odyssey Royals. I mean, Azaya like has to go the poke build in order to
Mhm.
get priority versus the Jinx early. They do obviously out sustain, but Jinx easily has wave control if Zaya does not go for the lethality build and has the Airy and the Scorch in the early game to kind of create a little bit of pressure. And Xin Zhao really wants to play with lanes that can be aggressive and play with tempo. So it'll be interesting to see here. And as we load in here, I first thing I'm looking at is I see the area on the Zaya, so they are definitely going for the lethality build, and
Lethality.
that is
Yep.
so good for Nerubius on the Xin Zhao.
I'm wrong. I'm wrong. It's Lilia top. Lilia top against Gangplank, Wukong jungle. It gives Odyssey Royals a lot more options in the early game if they want to pressure that. But that does mean that Gangplank should have some of that prio that we were talking about.
I agree, and you can feel free to PayPal me anytime. I called
Yep,
the
you
called
did.
the Lilia top. So,
You did.
um,
Hey, it's just to gas my friends up. I take a bad stance. I want to make sure that you got some momentum going into the cast.
God, I forgot how nice of a guy
Yeah,
you are.
yeah. Okay.
pretty
Yeah.
pretty
I
standard
can't
5 point
handle it.
here set up from both teams. Would have liked to have seen YBK kind of go mid with the Bard. Some classic tech that we see with the Bard is the W start. Go give some hot cocos for your mid laner to have a little bit of extra early sustain. Not super necessary, but I think it is nice because the Veigar can acquire pressure in this lane, and so just even a little bit more sustain is going to make that lane so much harder for the Zillion.
But I mean, that's kind of the win con here for Odyssey Royals. Get a lane behind early. Get yourself some prio. Get those objectives off the board early. That way, you develop pressure against these ducks. So a good take here. And I mean that pressure that we're creating is all starting right now.
Yeah, I
The
don't know,
early
man.
game is so important.
Have you ever been chased by ducks? It's hard to create pressure versus them.
I mean, usually it's more of a give and take. You bring a loaf of bread, you garner some camaraderie, some respect,
Yeah,
and then
and
and
then they
then
and then they start running you down. What are you talking
yeah.
about?
Okay, true,
Performance
true.
unenhanced ducks with the Zinzao about to start running them down because Odyssey Roll showed up with a loaf of bread. This Vagar sitting
We'll
duck.
see how picky they are. Are they bringing Wonder Bread or are they bringing store brand?
Oh, that's true. That's true. Or
Yeah,
that Sarah Lee bread.
Ooh,
Okay,
okay, yeah,
okay,
we're
okay.
talking about it. We're talking about it. Okay,
So
speaking of the
Wukong already
action,
mid lane here.
that's immediate flash blown though. Super important. We've got Vigar already creating some of that pressure. The Wukong already active on the map. Xin Zhao usually the one kind of demanding that respect, but I mean Wukong, the new hotness. I already called it. We'll see, obviously, if that pays. But look at the trading, a little disrespect here, and this could be a little unfamiliarity on the side of her Vivi on the gangplank against Hunter's Lilia. Not a very common champion in the top lane, but very potent as we see.
Yeah, it's got a Doran's. It's got a Doran's shield. Not even a Doran's ring doing that much damage. This is ridiculous.
Really good. Makes such a big difference. And the Lilia is actually already going to be indexing towards that Warden's Mail, looking for potentially a Frozen Heart first, definitely second, though.
The Warden's Mail is a really, really good purchase, too, because they have double 80 topside. You get an early Warden's Mail on this Lilia, how do you ever die to a gank?
You don't. Yeah. And the mana is actually so good, too, given how hungry she can be. The Q not being the biggest mana sink for Lilia, it's actually that W. So whenever she looks for those heavier trades like we saw earlier, it'll take a big chunk out. But yeah, the Frozen Heart fixes every problem. Cooldown reduction, armor, and mana. Super good.
And her base stats are pretty nice too, so you're not like starving for that damage in the early game.
No, as we'll see. But this is a gangplank that does scale. Not to say that Lilia doesn't. But I mean, farming is the game. We've got our our hay bales prepped, our pitchforks ready, and the gold will surely come in as we hit the market. But unless we get a little healing, not too bad. One more combo like that and it could be good. But now with a little slower pace, Wukong looking for anything right now before the first back, not finding much, but this is where the game starts to evolve. It's a 300 gold lead right now, and that's pretty much just the farming from Xin Zhao and the Gangplank passive. But as we get that the re-gank of mid lane, which I think is coming soon, with the flash blown already for Eckhard Discal. I had to work on that one before the stream. That is where my focus is.
And Eckhard Discal is a little bit behind on this reset, so now the Zilean is going to have to blow this TP, and surely Not has done a good job with this wave. Zilean is going to have to step out to come and get this. Looks like a regank opportunity if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and Wukong's going to be clearing Raptors straight into it. Just checking on the Dragon here. Nothing. I don't think YBK is going to be soloing that anytime soon, but it's actually the Ducks that are going to be looking at it with 4 coming in, and that's actually going to give Zilean a little safety as well. Already level 6, Echo Discal, feeling very comfortable in this, area of the map with his team. Obviously, the bottom lane doing a great job getting that wave push and its first dragon.
This is exactly how the performance on Enhanced Ducks kind of want to play. The Gangplank is fine to chill on their own, so where you have your pressure is with this Xayah and the Soraka lane. Xin Zhao can obviously create things down here, play through your bottom side. There's no reason to ever go top. You're not catching this Lilia moving at 200 miles per hour. So go ahead, start building yourself an advantage with the dragons. And
the cage lands, though. It doesn't matter. We've got Zillion's save and a double bomb to add a little insult to the injury. Yes, you got the Zilean ultimate. No, you cannot Killian the Zilean. They might look to re-dive, though, but they don't have Wukong ultimate except the flash, Q, and ult from Vigar secures first blood from Odyssey Royals as the bot lane gets just as spicy. Bard throwing another meep at him. We've got him burning. The GP ultimate just to watch it cook behind you. Odyssey Royals turning up the heat.
Odyssey Royals making things happen. We got some aggression in the top side. Does Hunter go for the ultimate here?
Really tough. The Lilia ultimate can obviously be cleansed with a little citric acid coming from the oranges on Gangplank's W. So as long as Gangplank can hold that W, Lilia doesn't pose too much of a threat. But if we're talking about threats, it's actually Nerubius on the Xin Zhao. Jinx is able to get that portal. Desired indeed. The Wukong, though, still level 5. Ultimate comes through. The oranges are cleansing it, though. He's going to be okay as Desired gets flashed on. The blast cone to safety as YBK looks to solo Fun Phoenix, but that's not going to happen. You found 3 members. You're on the wrong side of the wall. You're going to give the first kill over to Puds this game.
Yeah, Desired saying, "Hey, YBK, I appreciate your sacrifice for the cause. Going to go ahead and get that reset, keeping your Jinx alive. That's
Yeah.
exactly what you want to see. But now this Xin Zhao is starting to get ahead, starting to build a little bit of an advantage as Urkadiskel and Nerubius are able to invade, get this blue buff. This
Yep.
Xin Zhao snowballing is how Puds wants this early game to go.
Yeah, crucially going over to the Zillion here, Eckhart Discal really appreciating that blue buff. It's going to make the wave clear a lot better, given that Zillion is very Q dependent to get those waves cleared. But crucially on the other side, surely not doing exactly that, picking up no blue buff. Actually, it goes over to Speaks, feeling a little more pressure to clear it quickly, and that could be a little bit of an advantage. There's the flash advantage that Zillion has now. The spellbook means that the combat summoner or the teleport is now a heal, which is a bit more combat ready, and that might be the focus of Puds here. But
Oh, he's
speaking
trying
of
to move
focus,
top.
it's the gangplank, cleanses the cage, no issue. Surely not going to pick up that kill as Speaks kind of watches, and YBK is going to pick up a little solo experience mid lane.
Yeah, her Vivi on this Gangplank it's just such a good pick versus the
Woo.
Veigar and the Lilia, right? How do you ever see this
Well,
champ?
that was a ultimate from YBK on the Bard, and it looked like it was going to connect. I assume the speed from Zillion is what gets him out there, and nothing to come of the play. We've got Dragon coming up in a minute and a half. Herald is spawned, so I'm looking to see a trade possibly from the team with the best tempo. And honestly, right now, looking at the health bars, they seem pretty even. This could be either.
Yeah, I think that Odyssey Royal maybe should be looking at getting this dragon here. You kind of want to put the dragon stacking away. You don't necessarily need to get the soul, but that kind of puts the timer just back an extra 5 minutes, which is good for you either way. Whereas if your performance unenhanced ducks, you are kind of under more pressure to build an advantage in this early game. So going ahead and getting the Rift Herald is going to set you up to obviously develop more of a gold lead. You get it, you drop it, get some plates, and that's exactly what they want to do here.
Yeah, and the Ducks already having one dragon, I think they're maybe a bit more incentivized to continue that stacking if they want to continue the pressure and feel like at that 25-minute mark, that's whenever they're going to feel powerful. Whereas, yeah, obviously the gold feels nice and you would love to have your cake and eat it too, but this isn't grandma's house.
Yeah, I mean, but it could be though, right?
It could be, depending on how the fights go. And this is one that
Big
you
flash.
love to see as an Odyssey Royals fan. The ultimate is negated by the Xin Zhao, and he's going to be able to turn a little bit, but Speaks eliminating the hopes of Nerubius before Surely Not goes down.
Yeah, YBK there actually comes up huge with the Guardian. I think Surely Not dies if he doesn't show up there. Very well played from the Bard, walking up, standing there, as Fun Phoenix might be out of position.
Yeah, and this is a position that you did not have agency, but looks like they're going to be able to get out with the barrier saving them. Lilia applying a little more pressure, not going to be able to take down Gangplank all the way, still has those oranges, but Herald is not going to be able to be taken by the performance on Enhanced Ducks, and that means the Dragon going over here to Odyssey Royal and the Herald in the future could be a huge swing for this squad, who is even in gold exactly almost.
Odyssey Royals are making things happen for themselves in this early game, and this is great for them, right? Obviously, Puds is under more pressure to get things done in the early game. The Zaya with the lethality build does not scale nearly as well as the Jinx, and the Zillion isn't going to be putting out the damage, whereas Surely Not is going to be one-shotting almost literally anybody. Can you imagine if the Soraka in the mid to late game gets caged, maybe steps out of position, gets caged, QR is going to kill them. So this Gangplank is going to have to do so much of the heavy lifting, and her VP is doing a fine job at the top side, but every second for Puds matters here.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where that degree of difficulty comes in. If you're not ahead, every skill shot matters. Every ability matters. If you false step just a little bit, that will be punished a lot easier on the side of Odyssey Royals than it is for Puds. But I mean, that's why you play the picks. Usually they have a lot more outplay ability, and they might be confident in those fights. They might be confident in those mid to late game team fights, and that's why they draft this way. I wouldn't be surprised, but Speaking of
He's being
surprising
aggressive.
Rubius, yeah, I mean, Speaks is obviously going to be able to take this because of all the pressure that they've got. Speaks actually going down to 1 HP. The Zillion ultimate's going to save Rubius. Now they're turning on Eckhart Discal, and that's not going to be able to pan out. Hunters is going to be just fine as he chases in. Now we've got to re-engage, though. The Q's not going to land. The Bard ultimate doesn't either. YBK a bit sad. The Cage is going to keep in the Xin Zhao, and he's going to go down as well. Her Vivi is going to have to flash that wall and blast cone over. Does do so, able to keep Hunters at bay. Your license is expired. The season is over. You do not get the kill, but there is still action. Eckhart Discal putting out a little poke, but all in all, just one death on the side of Puds, and that's it.
Man, for as long as that fight went, it is really impressive that there was only one death coming out of it. And Odyssey Royals feeling really good about the outcome overall, even though Wukong goes down. But now they're a little bit ahead in the tempo. And in the bot lane,
Yep, Desired does get the exhaust out, but it's not enough. As Xayah flash ultimate, Sliacin, or Sliacin? Yeah, Sliacin, sorry, that's it. Sliacin is able to pick it up. Hunter's now being the focus, though. You are going to get stunned up. The baby cage is down, but it's not going to help you. I mean, Puds picks up the Herald. Hunters goes down, Desire goes down. It's a big swing back. That's a lot of gold, and that could be leveraged to get that crucial third dragon.
So I'm looking at this Veigar here before this kind of exchange starts, and I'm thinking, surely not he's going to get a reset in, right? And he doesn't. So he's sitting here with absolutely no mana, uses all of the mana on one spell to get the cage out, and he's literally just auto-attacking. Veigar with no mana is functionally a caster minion, and that's being generous.
Yeah. But now we have the Everfrost. We at least match the Zillion on items. The Predator boots offering a lot, maybe a little more utility for the side of Veigar. But, I mean, for as good as Odyssey Royals looked, getting that dragon and then transitioning that pressure to the top side, they just weren't able to execute and get the Herald. And that has opened the door for the performance unenhanced Ducks to kind of claw back into this game. Yeah, little poke in here and there. Not a lot to be desired.
Movement, though.
Yeah, I mean, we got the Nikes on. You know, we laced them up tight.
Oh, yeah. Got the Jordan 1s.
No, the Jordan 1s. Off-white, of course. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. The University Blues.
No. Okay. All right, we got a, sneakerhead or two maybe having a great time right now. But for the other, 98% of the chat, watching a League of Legends cast, they're like, what do you mean? If it's not slippers, what's the point? And honestly, I can't blame you. First tower, second tower going down here for Puds. Big gold influx. It's a 3k gold lead right now, 3.5 almost. Ballooning simply from that Herald fight and almost nothing else.
Yeah, Slayson is feeling pretty good as, going aggressive. Her VV.
Not feeling good though, Hunters, as the ultimate is blown. Gangplank with no problem chasing down this Lilia once that first barrel slows. It's a huge slow. The movement speed from Lilia is not going to be enough to keep Gangplank at bay. And Lilia having to ultimate just to kind of dissuade Gangplank from coming in means that she's going to be a lot more vulnerable here coming forward. And that opens up Herald now, mid lane, who they can escort in. And that secures that third dragon we were talking about, the second for the performance on unenhanced Ducks.
This Rift Herald is a really, really good call too. You just use it really quickly, get some aggression going as Speaks.
Yeah, flash ultimate in. We've got one more ultimate as well. The damage is going to be good. Soraka ultimate's going to at least delay things a little bit, but her Vivi, you are not long for this world. Oh, let me correct myself. He said, watch me though, and rips Hunters from this realm with him, saying, you're coming down with me, bud. That is a trade kill, and you've won psychologically there, I think.
Her Vivi is perfectly aware. Kendrick Lamar is dropping an album tonight, says, be humble, sit down. Goes ahead and gets the trade kill there. That is unbelievable. How broken is Gangplank right now?
I mean, all you got to do is crit once, right?
It feels like Gangplank crits every time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's built into the kit, I guess. Not really, but it feels like it. Uh,
It's like old Gangplank where you just walk up to an AD carry and press Q,
oh no no no
and
no.
the AD carry dies. I'm not salty at all.
At least now the animation's better. A
True.
barrel explodes, you know? It's
True.
not just like a bullet flying through the air.
But
But
you know what? The one thing I do have to criticize her VV on
uh-huh.
here is
Yeah.
this is easily the worst Gangplank skin, right? Like, what is, what are they doing?
I mean, so probably not. Spectral Gangplank's pretty bad. Spectral Gangplank looks awful. Okay,
Oh,
YBK taking a magical journey to be sure, but this was something spawned by perhaps LSD or other illicit drugs that I'm not promoting. Not
yeah.
necessarily something of a sober mind, perhaps.
YBK, you are not the street profits. You do not want the smoke, brother. You are going to get one tap as Speaks being aggressive here.
Yeah, trading ultimates, not a bad idea. Sliason now a little more vulnerable, but they still have the flash coming up in about 10 seconds. Wukong doesn't have ultimate, but it's this Vigar with Predator that they're looking at. And speaking of which, they are going to land it. The Bard ultimate's what sets this up. The Soraka ultimate and the Zillion ultimate come down as well. But this Saya, you are in a bad spot. Oh, except they ignore and let her flash over that wall. The Jinx rocket says, Reed, you be quiet. We had this calculated on the TI-89 Titanium. We knew this so well. Sliason going down to Desired, and now we've got the mid push. Now excuse me. Sorry, we're transitioning. Maybe not as confident, but huge kill. A lot of resources expended from the performance on enhanced ducts.
Yeah, and I think performance unenhanced ducks right in that moment displayed where the strength of their comp is, right? You get the Soraka ult, like 2, 3, 400 HP heal, right? Soraka obviously has a ton of heals outside of that. Then you get the Zillion ult, you just live forever. But on the flip side of that, that's where I have to criticize this draft a little bit. The Xin Zhao isn't the bruiser that they used to be. So whenever you go in like that, yeah, I mean, you're going to live forever. But if you're the Xayah or the Xin Zhao or even the Gangplank, you just get absolutely one shot upon living by Surely Not and Desired in this game.
Yeah, but I mean, what is this Xin Zhao's job? You know, maybe it's to kind of disrupt the flow of the team fight for enemy team. Maybe the ultimate lands on the Lilia, gets her out of the way, or the Wukong, and you then have an isolated target that your team can start to whittle down. The Gangplank offering a lot of front end damage, the Xayah able to self peel, and you've got that Soraka in kind of Xin Zhao's pocket, hopefully providing a little more time for the Xin Zhao to continue to do it. But yeah, I mean, that difficulty of execution, the barrels have to land, the Zillion bombs have to land, and the Xayah poke is rotational. It's not consistent. She's not going to be able to just like punch super hard that front line, that isolated target, unless the Qs are landing and the roots come through. So
And that's
no, go
That's
ahead.
exactly the nerf that the Xayah had just taken, right? Where before it was a lot easier for Xayah to use her Q, set up feathers. It was really easy.
Oh, but now we actually get a bit of a disengage. Xin Zhao not going to be able to go down. YBK though. Excuse me, sorry, missed it.
Yeah, YBK just blowing the flash, Swag walking it out as both teams are looking to set up for the Dragon here, and her Vivi already set up here with the barrels. And you bring up a great point earlier. The Xin Zhao wants to create a little bit of pressure, cause chaos. As Speaks being aggressive.
Yeah, but he is isolated right now. He's going to come down to the bottom side, and Sliason says, you are not going, except he flanks, going back the other way, just a little bit of a feint as the Gangplank barrel gets Desired and Hunters there. Hunters not too worse for wear, but Desired a lot left to be. This third dragon now for Puds, fourth of the game, going down. 2 mountain dragons over, quite a bit of resistances. That's going to help a lot of the burst that this Vigar wants to do. And now they're looking to get control over the mid lane and potentially Baron.
Yeah, I mean, performance unenhanced Ducks coming out with a really big health advantage, and Odyssey Royals used a ton of cooldowns there, so they feel perfectly comfortable, whereas on the side of performance unenhanced Ducks, they still have Soraka ultimate, they still have the Zillion ultimate, they have all of the resources necessary to make this happen.
And we need resources, but Ecker Discal just had to use them all on himself.
Oh!
But now we get a huge
No.
Shell ultimate, insecting 2 of them back into his team. Desired having to run away, and he's just gonna get blapped by her VV. You go straight into the dirt. Red buff spawning on your grave. Baron now up for eating for this team as they are hungry for this win.
Yeah, I mean, Odyssey Royals, you can't walk in versus this Zhao. Blowing the flash, going ahead and getting the insect onto 2 people and 2 of the more crucial members of the Odyssey Royals team. And now, Performance Unenhanced Ducks is getting that lead that they needed.
And that's Baron. I mean, the zone control now that Zilean offers without that engage from Wukong, without that engage, or the follow-up there from Jinx and Vigar means it's super free, and this is where the game turns. This is where you're in like a 15% success rate for Odyssey Royals as every play gets so much harder. The Zilean now has a Banshee's Veil to keep Vigar from just one-shotting them, as well as to help dissuade potentially a Lilia Bowling Ball from being a huge hit that we were talking about earlier. The Muramana completed and almost the Serilda's Grudge for Xayah. Gangplank almost on 3 items as well. I mean, this next fight coming up in about 2.5 minutes is going to be brutal for Odyssey Royals, and they're going to really have to outplay this.
Yeah, I mean, Performance Unenhanced Ducks is coming in and doing Poseidon's work, absolutely punishing Odysseus for angering them. Now they are creating a big lead, and I mean, they're trying to be aggressive, but how are you going to kill Sliacin here when he has the
Just
Zilean
everything.
and the Soraka in their back pocket?
Hunters thinks that's a good engage, but they don't realize that we've got Nerubius coming up on the backside. It's going to be a long chase here. Surely not trying to pincer in a way, but her Vivi and Nerubius have no problem taking the fight to them. Hunter's doing a little snake impression, getting out before the clap of his alerts the guards.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter says, hey, surely not. Appreciate your sacrifice to the cause. Appreciate you saving the KDA. Good looking out, brother. As they are going to get the reset in, and now they're going to have to play defense. But without the Vagar cage, it's going to be so much harder to do.
Yeah, and look at the siege potential. Ecker Disco with the bombs is going to have no problem just laying them down and creating space. YBK is going to delay for 3.5 seconds, but that's not going to be much either. Her VV with the barrels, the bombs, you've got feathers on the ground as well. I mean, it's a menagerie of pain for Puds here, and I mean the Royals feeling a little peasantry right now.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Desire stay in the mid lane. The Jinx is already on 2 items. You can threaten that tower and go ahead and get yourself the objective bounty. Because let's be real, versus 5 of them, you guys are not defending that tower either way, especially with Shirley not being down already. So go ahead, cash out a little bit. That little bit of gold can be the difference between winning and losing this next fight, which is going to probably happen at this Mountain Dragon here in a minute.
Yep. And although it might not spell the end, depending on how many of Odyssey Royals, assuming that if they lose this fight, are left to live, the biggest characters here being the Vigar and the Jinx, they're the ones with the biggest wave clear. If they can stay alive after losing a potential fight, then the game might not be over. Obviously, if you're Odyssey Royals, you're looking for the win, and Nerubius solo or by himself is the opportunity they were looking for. But he's invulnerable for so long, surely not able to get any damage down through that Death Dance, and now Ecker Disco able to lay down the ultimate as well is going to make sure Nerubius is just fine. Soraka ultimate on top of that as well, as Speaks is on the backline unseen, but you do not get the kill. Ecker Disco living there, and Soraka showing you exactly why she is banned so often in these elos is because it's so oppressive if you have good positioning. Now you're trying to get into a Dragon Pit 3v5 against all of that zoning we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, Speaks was trying to do their finest James Bond impression, sneak onto the backline there, but the Soraka is so clutch with the heals, and Fun Phoenix is just big chilling here. I mean, what do they do, the Royals here?
They can't. No TP on the Vigar. Nothing they can do. They get a Bard ultimate down, but that's not going to be enough either. Everybody else was alive and able to posture to keep him away. We've got a minute 50 until the next Baron. We've got a 300 health shield, more or less, for every member on the other team, as well as extra resistances. This Vigar not having a great time already, it just got a lot worse.
Yeah, and Puds managed to get everything that they needed out of the early game, right? We're only at 27 minutes. The Jinx is not as online as the Jinx would like to be. Surely not, does not have the gold that they would like either. So, performance on Enhanced Ducks are able to continually push this advantage. And I mean, as we scale into the late game, hey, look, the Xayah has 3 items. Jinx is at 2 and some components, 2.5 about,
Yeah.
and the Gangplank is sitting on 3 items. And
Yeah.
Gangplank is so powerful into Jinx because even if you get your resets off, yeah, what do? You run forward, and God forbid you run forward into the barrel, it's lights out.
Yeah, and another example of how hard it is to catch Nerubius if you're not ahead. Nerubius has so many options. Didn't even have to blow the ultimate to get out. By the way, just the movement speed from Ecrodiscal's Zillion, and he's good. Like, no problem. And that's why it was so important in that early game to get ahead. If we're looking at the teams right now, I mean, the 60 CS lead, if you would have told me ahead of time that Xin Zhao being the biggest CSD was, you know, a good thing for the team, I would disagree. But given how pivotal it's been, how do you go wrong? But for Vivi now, the focus does not get the trade. Surely not able to get something back in this game. Crucial. They've got a little bit of time, but YBK and Desired need to be careful here. The traps come down, the stun lands. That's going to buy at least a little bit, and YBK is going to be focused, but should not go down to this bomb, living with 150 health. Puds does get the tower, doesn't get the kill, but honestly, maybe the tower is all they were looking for.
Yeah, I think it would have been a really over-aggressive there to continually move forward. They don't have the Gangplank with them. They do have the resources to fight there, but I don't know about fighting in between 2 towers. Just going to disengage, use the Soraka to heal back up, and get some pressure around this Baron.
I mean, you know, 2 towers, characteristically the least respected of the trilogy. I think that they probably would agree. And they decide better of it as well, so...
Definitely, and Odyssey Royals are looking to be the return of the Kings here, as they are going to move into the Baron pit and start setting up here. They have to do something on this reset timer, I feel like.
I mean, it's get vision, try to find something, right? You just try to find a pocket where you can, you know, Fnatic brush them and get something. And although it's going to be difficult. Oh, by the way, the Lilia picking up the Dead Man's Plate, also a very good buy. The movement speed primo.
The Gangplank ultimate just got used.
True. Just trying to check. But, I mean, if we're talking about crucial ultimates, that might be the least crucial. I know it does a lot of damage, but given how far ahead, damage isn't something that Puds is lacking. It really is the utility that is going to decide these things here. And so I'm not too, you know, worried about it. And it's almost halfway off cooldown already.
Isn't that so crazy that Gangplank Ultimate is the least useful one in their team? Puds are going to start the Baron here. Let's see how Odyssey responds.
It's got to be quick. You have to fight him whenever the resistances are down. YBK able to land 1 ultimate and blowing Sliacin's ultimate as well. Ecrodiscal is on the front line, but no damage goes down. Hunter's not able to find anything. Soraka just keeping them all topped off as the Honey Fruit is going to feel really good on the backside as well. Hunter's down to 20% HP and is going to have to try to heal off the minion wave or just go back and TP back in. The TP is up. The line of scrimmage is drawn, and Puds are just daring Odyssey Royals to cross into death.
And the Ruby's going aggressive.
And Speaks is going to have to blow the ultimate to get out. Yes, Ecrodiscal walks onto the baby cage, but that doesn't even matter as well. Soraka's just going to keep you healed. You've got everything drawn out. Hunter's desperately going in, and Rubius is going to say, I've got you on the backside, except they turn it. That's a Jinx reset. They're able to get 1 kill without losing. Yes, the health bars are low, but you just took Baron off the table for Puds. Odyssey Royal doing the unthinkable here.
Desired is online. The Jinx has 3 items. This is their time to shine. Now, Puds still is able, they have the health advantage. They can still sit around this area and force pressure. I mean, there's really not any pressure for them to go anywhere else at the moment. Surely Not has to respond bot side, does have TP, but they do have to respond to these side waves. And Desired is really low HP. So Puds is perfectly fine creating pressure. I mean, it is a nice win for Odyssey Royals, gets you a little bit of confidence back, but ultimately, it's just 1 kill.
Yeah, but crucially, just more time. They've got a little more time to try to find a few more stacks on the Vigar, try to find a bit more gold on this Jinx, try to get this Lilia up to that third item and also the Vigar as well. I mean, those things could matter. We've already seen how close the fight can go if it is a bit mismanaged on the side of performance on enhanced ducks. So Odyssey Rose just playing to that win con. And speaking of a win condition, Elder up in 22 seconds. Odyssey Royals here first without the Lilia, though. It's going to be a 4v5 unless they can delay it a little bit. And they're going to actually pull the trigger. YBK's ultimate actually delaying both ends, though. This is not good. Nerubi is able to get the ultimate down, but you're going to go down first. It's a trade, however. YBK going as well. Ecardisco joining the fight as the baby cage is going to at least buy some room for Hunters to work. The sleep goes through. The stopwatch is made, but that's going to be a flash out. So many resources used. All flashes down outside of the Xin Zhao, who is just dead at this point. And we're at a standstill. 2 straight fights where it's just...
Look at Shirley down the backline!
And it's Fun Phoenix going down as well. Her BB is going to be able to trade against the Vigar. Ecardisco down to 1 HP, but is going to be able to stay in Zhonya's just long enough for Hunters to go down. An ace on the side for Puds. That's Elder Dragon. Not quite the base, but this could be the game.
And that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. Desired has to move forward to do damage, and her VB playing that so well, dropping the Gangplank ult. The Jinx was super low at the beginning of that fight, putting out a ton of damage, but you have to continuously move forward, and it's so hard to do. Gangplank is already at 3 items, got double crit cloaks. You cannot stand on that Gangplank ultimate if you're this Jinx at any point in the game moving forward, and doing so gets the Jinx killed, and that just makes the fight so much easier for the rest of performance on Enhanced Ducks.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Nerubius, yes, goes down first, but so much had to be invested in a Nerubius to get that kill. And that time allows her Vivi to find the angles, to find the damage, to get down some of that consistent just burst that he has with those barrels as they're on such a low cooldown at this point that even though, yes, you're looking at a Lilia and a Jinx, you're just not going to be able to match the sheer damage coming out of this super scaled Gangplank and everything behind this Gangplank that just enables them to go wild.
At this point, honest to God, her Vivi, 1 barrel is going to kill Jinx, especially with the Elder buff. So they have to play so aggressive here with this Elder because they now at this point have so much damage. It's going to be so hard for Odyssey Royals to find their way back home and get this victory.
Yep, Baron empowered minions, Elder empowered champions, and performance no longer unenhanced ducks at this point. They are looking to end here. They're drawing their lines. They're trying to figure out the flanks. I mean, yes, Odyssey Royals does fight well in a condensed space, but I mean, Puds is not going to have a problem with that either. You've got zillion bombs everywhere, and the Xayah ultimate's going to be great. Fun Phoenix, though, is going to go down. Does have the zillion ultimate, though, to keep her alive. Crucially, it comes back at full health. Exactly. With Soraka ultimate still available. Ecardisco, though, does not have the zillion ultimate for themselves. Is going to have to at least blow one of those. I assume it was the Soraka Mikhails getting Ecardisco out of the stun. But now Hunters is looking for that big 4 or 5 man sleep that's going to start the fight. Only gets the 1, but it is on Sliacin, as Ecardisco is also in Zhonya's as well. But it does not matter. Elder is locked and loaded. We got 1 going down. We've got 2 short to follow here, except Desired is actually on the way back. They're just focusing the Nexus. No, Desired is going to be able to pick up 1, but it's not enough. They do take the Nexus. They do take down Odyssey Royals, and Puds is 2-0.
Yeah, performance unenhanced ducks with the composition. It was so difficult to get through. The Jinx did not have enough damage on her own, and it felt like over and over again, the amount of sustain, the amount of control that they were able to get in every single fight just made it really, really difficult for Odyssey Royals to play the game out. Really, really well played, and I
to
Hey,
exactly what it
read
wanted
it. I
to.
was
And
wrong about the
yeah,
draft.
I am like to come back to this, to come to back to a game like this, awesome, really fun. The fights were complex. They weren't easy to execute, and both sides had moments, right? Both sides had uh, like just hair's width moments of, do you win this or do you lose this? The Jinx getting the excited at that Baron pit and forcing the Ducks to back off, huge. And just obviously the checkmate of Elder being really important there towards the middle and the end. Uh, you know, Pud's doing exactly what their comp was meant to do: get the
Mhm.
early dragons, get the Elder, and then win the game through just perfect, like, synergy, like trying to get there at the same time. The 5v5 is going to work. Soraka's always going to win. So, do we
And
have a
now we
interview
are
coming in?
joined by the person I wanted to talk to, Slyison, with the 80 carry, with Desire. You played out of your mind. How are you feeling after that dub?
Uh, I'm feeling pretty good right now. I felt like
Mhm.
I should not have died to Bard in lane, but we all make mistakes. I think overall there are a lot of things I could have been better at during the game, but I'm still satisfied with our win. I think we did it pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I
So
mean, the Bard is pretty oppressive. I wouldn't want to sell yourself too short. Uh, there's a lot of poke in the lane, and the damage can come pretty quick, especially with that ignite. But uh, talking about the draft, we were pretty back and forth on it. We felt like the ease of execution was on the side of Odyssey Royals, whereas you guys drafted maybe a bit more outplayability, as well as something that required a lot more coordination. So talk us through your confidence playing a draft centered around like disengage, re-engage, a Xin Zhao that maybe isn't coming back unless the Zillion is able to really influence the play. So like, yeah, walk us through that.
Yeah, so I think Zillion is actually just Giga broken.
Yeah.
And kind of we've realized our play style is very just like fight heavy mechanical champions, and Zillion just helps us facilitate that because if we go in for an int play or whatever, just trying to be the hero, we get a bailout. Um
Yeah.
Soraka does the same, and I mean Fun Phoenix is the best support I've ever played with, so it's
Oh,
very makes the game a lot easier when you know that you have like really good backup.
yeah. Really good. Let's now like start moving towards maybe the mid to late game. You were positioning around what was the second Baron, and
Hmm.
you actually lose your Xin Zhao in the fight. Nerubius goes down to
Yep.
the Jinx, and although they have low health bars, you make the call to back off. You leave a few there to make sure that they don't, sneak the Baron. But going through your head, do you have that moment of like, uh oh? Like,
Uh,
this is where the Jinx is coming online, and Vigar's got like 3 more minutes to try to find some gold. Like, what are you thinking?
um, I even though they have like Vigar and Jinx, I still think that we had good enough scaling with Zillion
Hmm.
Gangplank, and I wasn't really worried about us getting outscaled, but at the same time, everyone has those games where you just kind of you're in the lead the whole time, and then you just throw once, then they get Baron, they get objective bounties, killing three
Yep.
turrets, and the next thing you know, the game's even again.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're kind of used to Nerubius doing one or two of those plays every game, but
That's just built into the threads of
yeah,
a good jungler. You need it.
yeah, like you need a playmaker. Um,
Yeah.
and if sometimes the plays don't work out, but otherwise, it's better to have someone who is more aggressive and going in than someone who just lays back and lets things happen.
very true. Super agree. Really quickly, Slice, and before we let you go here, do you have any words that you'd like to say to the performance unenhanced Ducks fans that are in the chat?
We have fans.
Every team has
Oh yeah.
fans, brother.
Oh,
You just
uh,
made fans.
yeah.
Somebody is losing their mind at a zillion Soraka comp.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll just say, thanks to the fans out there. We're definitely not done with our insane picks. expect us to bring out a lot more flexes and a lot more different champions that you probably will not be seeing very often in solo queue. So,
All right, sounds good.
got a lot of strategies.
I'll hold you to it.
I'm excited to
Thanks
cast
again.
it.
Yep, Slyson, I appreciate you coming on. We're gonna go to a short break before we have one more game up on the docket. Uh, 30 seconds, and I'll be right back.
Well played.
Disappear, I'm your eraser. Aim the cut just like a razor. Murder business, we're my blazer. I got all the boys on me. I got all the lines on ring. Knocking dead, turning heads. I got all the eyes on me. Pretty face, 걸어 들어와. 유행 선두자. 원하지만 못 찾아나. 애가 찾아나. You like whoa, 달리 유도 go. 난 알지, I know. 준비해, cause I like the ball. 멈추지 않아. 나는 내 그게 like a bag. 그거 말고.
Welcome back, everybody. We're into our last game of the night. 2 down, 1 more to go. Gonna be real quick. Although this isn't an official game, we've got a couple Paladin teams coming up. This is our Gold League. It's gonna be the Nightmare Knights versus Hotspot Gaming. And I'm
Gold.
told, Gold, excuse me. I'm told that they are called Hotspot Gaming because their mid laner, Piecrafter, actually had to play from a hotspot for quite a while on the team because his dorm Wi-Fi was so bad. So already love the storylines coming in here.
Oh my god, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Have you ever played off of a hotspot?
Never in my life.
This guy has got to be like Faker, right? Playing off a hot,
Yeah.
your lag is so bad. There's no way that this person had any more than like 90, 120 ping. So I'm expecting to see some massive plays out of their mid laner.
I mean, oh god, I can't even defend it. I'm trying to say it's like Rock Lee ankle weights that you got on that all of a sudden you hit the like gigabit internet and then you're like you're smelling colors. I almost said seeing colors. Wait, that's a great analogy because you're not dead anymore in League. Oh my god, I should have stuck with it. Rewind. Because you're seeing colors. Editor, get that? Like it's so good. I love it.
You are 1000% right, and I think that if we're able to, depending on where the mid laner plays, if we're able to get them on like 10 ping, we might start to unlock some of the gates of the hidden powers within them.
I mean, yeah, it's a dopa down angle right there. But well, now that we're in the draft, though, let's get a little analytical here. Both of these teams I already mentioned from the Paladins League, coming in here, giving us one more show for the road. We had to make sure we gave you at least something to go by. But while these final bans are coming through. Don't forget, follow the stream. Make sure that you give us a good opportunity to entertain you even more. You thought the jokes were good, and I have to question you on your comedy integrity, but they're gonna get even better. We're just warming up. And I'm not talking like that because I got the sweater on. So thank you everybody for watching. But let's talk about the game. Nautilus first pick.
Canceled. So
Another
Hotshot
great joke, says Matt.
Hotspot
Just to give
Hotspot
you some
Gaming
insight.
have some great bands here. I really wanted to see the Corki band here because Corey is an absolute beast on
Yeah.
this champion. Just the best gold Corki of all time. The stats
Ooh.
are unbelievable, and this
Yeah.
champion is still, even though we've kind of see it fall from priority, it's still so strong. The poke is unbelievable. I mean, the nerfs that they put onto Corki really didn't make them that much less powerful. So this is a great ban here.
Yeah, I agree. But now on the other, like for Hotspot Gold, even though they banned the Nami, thinking the Nightmare Knights might first pick it. They're picking up the Lucian and the Viego. Lucian going to offer a lot of lane bully presence and allow that support to perhaps go with this Viego into enemy jungle, into some of these objectives, and influence the map, get this Viego ahead and give them some late game insurance. Sejuani being the answer on the other side, likely just a bit of comfort here for the Nightmare Knights, not to show too much as they already have a lot of engage. I assume with the Zeri pickup and the mid and top yet to be picked, it's going to be a lot of damage and a lot of follow-up here.
Yeah, Super Glue Bandit plays a ton of Zeri, and to be honest with you, this champ is not very good right now. However, we have seen it picked at MSI, and if you're a fan of Double Lift, he's been playing the crit build quite a bit, and
Good.
has stated that the crit build is still very powerful despite the nerfs that have come in. But Hotspot Gaming Gold, they take the Swain. This champ is the most broken champ in the game. Prove me wrong.
So I mentioned that with the Sejuani and Nautilus, you're going to likely have a lot of follow-up, just given how in they are. The Swain, he's like, I got the doormat down. I got the doors unlocked. The windows are open. Come on in, baby.
Acting like Silk Sonic, leave the door open. Swain wants you to move forward, and it's going to be a little bit harder for this Zeri to play. She is so good at kiting, but with the Swain ultimate, you get slow just a little bit. It's easy to miss the Swain E during the ultimate too. The colors are very similar, so it's very easy to miss. And if you get caught, it's splat for the Zeri in this game.
Yeah, true. But now we need to find that hard CC. You've drafted the Nautilus, which is a very popular counter against the Zeri. Just something super point and click, really easy. You get at least something down and then you follow it up with everything else. The Swain is not going to offer that. The Viego is not going to offer that as well. So in this 4-5 slot, I'm looking for some sort of good CC to get this Zeri lockdown. And although the Miasma does offer something, I don't know if it's going to be enough yet.
Well, I like the Cassiopeia pick because Miasma is a fairly short range ability, but Zeri's kind of a short range 80 carry as well. And it's going to make it difficult for the Sejuani to also dash onto them. So the Cassiopeia does get to play a little bit more aggressively versus these two dashes. And I would say the dashes for those champions, and I mean the Gragas dash as well, these are relatively short range dashes that the Miasma can have an impact on, and these abilities are really big for those three champions. So I think Cassiopeia was an absolutely great pick here.
Yeah, I mean, she loves to be or she definitely doesn't like to be outranged, right? And with the Gragas pickup, the range is only here in Zeri. Now I feel a lot better. The Victor's going to offer a lot to keep this Cassiopeia from being comfortable just playing up into this team. Yes, she's going to have a lot of health. Yes, she's going to be able to have a lot of utility, but shredding through tanks, very easy and fun. But Victor and Zeri should offer a lot of damage. And the Tryndamere here for the top lane against the Gragas, not an easy matchup. If they lock it in, there's so much disengage. Trundle a lot better. Woo, I love that a lot more.
The Trundle does offer some flexibility. The
Yeah,
Trundle is it's a classic counter to the Sejuani, and in this case, you can take it top lane, and it's going to be hard for Gragas and Sejuani to punish the Trundle. You just drop a pillar and then swag walk it out. I mean, there's no way that they are going to be able to get onto you. So this Trundle can play very, very aggressively in this top lane, and this cements that the Swain is actually going support. We talked a little bit about this earlier, but I personally think that Swain is better in the solo lane. Getting that gold, it does so much more damage now.
yeah,
But versus a short range bot lane like the Zeri Nautilus, I mean, there's just no way that you can ever hook onto this champion, or it is going to be really,
yeah.
really difficult to play out, even in the early game.
Yeah, I mean for sure. Given that Trundle is obviously going to do like absolutely love playing against a Sejuani, and playing against a Nautilus that likely takes aftershock. This could be a Trundle in team fights that becomes really tanky. If this is top lane, there is a little flexibility. I want to say the Swain could go top or mid. The Cassiopeia can go top as well. Based on the OPs, I do see Cassiopeia mid here for sure. The Swain being the only like real question mark, but uh, with the Lucian Swain being picked R2 R3, it makes me feel like it's a bottom lane. But I was wrong last game, and there's nothing I like to be more than, and it's right. Reading right. It's right. I
Right,
like to be right.
right,
Yeah.
uh,
Right, right.
right,
No,
right, right, right.
I'm just saying, there's so many free radicals here. It's impossible to tell. Once we get into the game, I will be able to at least garner a little more information because we'll know exactly who's piloting them.
You say
But
free radicals?
yes,
Who
yeah.
do you think is watching us here?
What do you? That's a pretty common thing, right, Chad? Right? Yeah, we're all smart.
No,
We're all smart. Yeah, it's just
I, I'm a,
study.
I'm an
It's easy,
English teacher,
forehead.
man, and I want to see the Nightmare Knights here. I want to see them place some commas into their gameplay, have some pauses. Not pausing the game, but they are
Yeah,
going to need to play the game pretty slowly because they
yeah,
cannot be aggressive versus the Hotspot Gaming Gold's team composition, right? If you try to play it too quickly, moving into them is exactly what they want. You move into them super aggressively, boom, you get hit
yeah,
with the Cassiopeia R. Boom, the Swain is able to ult and just sit there unkillable
yeah,
for his whole
yeah,
life. And I'm gonna let you guys in on a little something. Swain with Moonstone is absolutely broken.
yeah.
Lives
At support, at support.
forever. Lives for absolute ever. And you can I've even seen in some of the high elo games that I've watched, I've seen the Moonstone Swain go in solo lanes too. So it's possible
Yeah,
for sure, but then you would have to have a Viego in a solo lane, and I haven't seen that since 1962. So
true. At
I
least.
I expect it'll be the Swain in the support role.
Yeah. But I mean, I want to talk about some of the team fights now. There is a lot of zone control that is offered here by the Cassiopeia, by the Trundle Pillar, by the Swain, just exuding a lot of like, you literally don't want to dive me. But the thing is that I don't see an easy way to get to this Zeri. Even if you kill the Nautilus and have Viego take over, you don't get the point and click R, which is the whole point of the Nautilus pick into Zeri. So if it's gonna happen, the Zarya is gonna have to catch a skill shot, and I mean that as literally as possible. And then the rest of the team is gonna have to die, and she's gonna have to somehow not be able to kite out this whole team, which she will have a ton of time building up stacks to do. The Swain is not gonna kill anybody very fast. The only thing that's gonna kill quickly is gonna be this Lucian and the Viego somewhat. Given that Viegos tend to build a little more like Divine Sunder, a bit beefier to ensure that the reset comes through. I mean, nobody's dying very quickly on the side of Nightmare Knights, and that's going to give Zeri easy 20 stacks before anybody dies. I guarantee it.
And the one thing that people kind of sleep on with the crit Zeri build is oftentimes you go the Immortal Shield Bow, and the
Mm,
stacks combined with the lifesteal
yeah,
can make her deceptively tanky. Certainly,
yeah,
not as tanky as with the Triforce build that
Titanic,
was very
yeah,
popular before. But she is going to be able to lifesteal pretty effectively. Now, the thing that will kind of come into question here is Hotspot Gaming's positioning in the fight. Obviously, the stacks kind of function as like an old school static shiv type, where if they are stacked on top of each other, this area is going to build up those stacks really, really, really quickly.
Mhm.
But I think they do have the option here to not position that way. The Lucian can
Yeah.
kind of position to the side, and the Swain wants to be literally in the middle of all of them while they're putting out that damage. So there is some volatility to the way that Hotspot Gaming can play their draft. But I totally agree with everything that you're saying. I mean, unless Zeri catches a skill shot by
It
accident or
yeah.
dashes into the Cassiopeia, they're gonna have a hard time getting on top of her.
I feel like I feel like something might have been done here. You know, maybe there was a little sneakiness occurred. I've got a feeling that they picked two team comps that the fights are going to last at least 2 minutes each, just to run me as hoarse as possible tonight. I mean, I the way that I'm seeing this, these are going to be some brutal play-by-play calls.
Or
Oh.
on 12.10, that's the patch where they're gonna nerf literally everything and
Oh
reduce
god,
all
yeah.
of the damage in the game. So
Yep.
actually,
We're
they're just
warming
giving us
up.
a preview of what that patch is gonna be.
Hey, yeah, claps in chat. You know what? Nightmare Nights, Hotspot Gaming, I appreciate you. You're getting us set up for the longer team fights coming up forward. I didn't think about how gigabrain this Paladins League was, but if you're not watching it, obviously these guys are onto something. Very,
Friday nights.
very cool. Big thumbs up. You got my approval. Let's see if you hold it. Because we'll see how practiced I am coming off of being sick.
Yeah, and I do think that the Hotspot Gaming Gold, I like kind of what their draft strategy was here. I mean, it doesn't take very much looking at the Nightmare Knights OPGG to see that Super Glue Bandit is just really, really proficient on the Zeri. But they say, hey, look, we're gonna give you this pick. Zeri is not strong right now.
Yeah.
And for the most part, she isn't. So they are kind of throwing down the gauntlet a little bit and saying, hey, you might be good on this champ. The champ's just not good at all right now.
Yeah.
Whereas Lucian is easily a top 3 bot laner right now. Swain is, in my opinion, the most broken champion in the game at the moment. Trundle is always very, very powerful. Viego has been meta for like my entire life at this point. So I like how they kind of approach the draft, saying, look, we know that you have this comfort, but we don't think those champs are good, so we can beat you on them for sure.
Yeah, and I want to note something really quickly. Something Hotspot Gaming might have thought was going to happen was that the Zeri was going to be first pick, and they would be able to pick up that Nautilus coming in. But I mean, like Nightmare Knights saying, no, we're gonna take the Nautilus, and we know you're not gonna pick the Zeri, so we're just gonna get a little later. Potentially a bit of an outplay there in the draft that had Hotspot Gaming, reeling a little bit in that first pick. But obviously, just speculation. They're probably going to be watching this about an hour and a half from now, after winning really, really quickly, and be like, "Wow, this guy is terrible," and I wouldn't blame him.
It is really bold of you to assume with these comps that we're going to be out of here in an hour and a half.
Oh, true. True. That's a good point, but let's at least start the timer. We've got Trundle top, which I think is really good. Something that I know maybe a little bit about is gonna at least offer them, in my opinion, their best win condition on the side of this Trundle. Given that the Zeri is gonna have an easy time in the team fights, the Trundle actually cannot be matched in the side lane. There really isn't a champion that this Trundle is going to look at a 2v1 situation that Trundle's just either going to be able to run away from no problem or just take the fight to you. So if this Trundle gets ahead, it is an incredibly good game for Trundle here in the side lane.
Yeah, I mean, honest to God, if Yordle guy gets ahead, I don't really know that they can send 2 people to match him. I mean, if you send up the Sejuani, he's just going to press ultimate and suck away those abilities. And I think
Yeah.
Emotional Player did do something very, very smart here. They went ahead and took Phase Rush on the Sejuani so that there are less stats. That's just the common thing.
Yeah.
If you take Aftershock, you get more stats taken away from you. So
Yep.
that used to be the Halo Blades, but that doesn't feel so great on the Sejuani. So great adaptation here. But,
Same
if
thing with the
Emotional...
Nautilus on Guardian as well.
Yeah, really,
Not
really
too uncommon. Yeah.
really, really smart calls from them. And I think the Guardian also works better here in the laning phase versus double range bot lane. But if they send 2 people at Yordle Guy and Yordle Guy has any sort of advantage, I think they're gonna have to send 3.
Yeah, absolutely. So it will come down to a lot of macro. It will come down to how well you time your pushes, how well you're able to get together and make sure that your pressure is equal at the best. Because if they commit too much one way, you're already in position to get something on the other side, and vice versa. So that's where Hotspot Gaming is going to be looking at as the first 2 Swain E's connect there. I mean, Super Glue Bandit already on the back foot.
Super Glue Bandit is playing really, really disrespectfully here. You kind of have to play a little bit forward and understand the max range of the Swain E, but they are continuing to be aggressive on this wave, hoping to get the level 2 first. And nice dodge.
But your Nautilus hooking into a level 2 Lucian and Swain, you're not going to like this. Demon Bojangles going down to 1 hit as Layman looks for any part of the never move. Flashes to reposition, but you in fact put yourself in a bad one. Super Glue Bandit against all odds is going to pick it up. The exhaust comes in as that's a double kill for Super Glue Bandit. The Zeri is already online.
Reed, you caster cursed them! Super Glue Bandit absolutely smurfing that fight! And this is exactly how Zeri plays. They kite it out. Once Layman blew the flash trying to get that E, and the E still missed, it was so easy for Super Glue Bandit to just spam that Q button, get that damage out, get the first blood, get the double kill, and wow, that is absolutely huge for the Zeri.
I mean, we're already delivering here on just completely subverting my expectations. There wasn't a world that I saw that working out. And then Doctor Strange told me that there was in fact one. And that was dumping literally all of their damage into Demon and Bojangles, who barely survives, and then having Super Glue Bandit through an exhaust get through the bot lane from Hotshot Gaming. I mean, you really can't script it, mostly because I wouldn't believe you if you told me.
And I mean, Super Glue Bandit, we've already kind of talked about their proficiency on the Zeri. When you are really, really good at one champion, you just know the limits of it so much better than the opponent. So that outplays like that, for us might feel really, really impressive. But for Super Glue Bandit, it's just another day on the job.
True. And I'm thinking about that never move into flash reposition that ended up spelling doom here for Layman and Blackout. But going forward, I would assume, we've got the nerves out. We're going to be okay. As now we're looking at Recrafters. Yordle Guide is going to be able to get a lot of damage out, but that's not enough. The flash burned here from Recrafters means that as this wave crashes and pushes back out, I would assume Dark Sun revisits that lane to get this Trundle ahead.
And Dark Sun is absolutely smurfing this game, already playing the EDG Viego. Never mind, this champ is absolutely awesome. I love to see it here. I got to talk about the skins, of course, in the game.
Okay, yeah. Champion skin, there's only like 80 of them now. It feels like they're watering them down, though. Although I do like them. I think that this skin line was pretty cool. I'm not as excited as I was, back whenever it was like, Samsung white like skin, where it was like the 4th one, and you're like, whoa, oh my god, they danced in real life and then they put it in the game. But now, they can't one up it anymore, right? Like, what else do you do?
Hello. They made the Yuumi skin look like his cat. What more do you want from them?
No way! Wait, all right, I'm back. Yo, that is sick. What the hell?
Okay, look up a picture of Mako's cat and then look at the skin. It's crazy what they've done.
Nah, we'll find it in the Discord. If you're not in the Astral Discord, you should be. You can lend me your praises, perhaps even more your criticisms. I take it really well. And you can send me pictures of Mako's cat, who evidently looks like the Yuumi, which is
all
right.
I'm here. Send
That's
pictures of your cat.
Also true.
Here at Astral
Not going to be
we are
opposed.
very supportive of pet pictures.
Yeah, I mean, who isn't though at that point, right? Okay, back to the game. We've sidetracked enough. We're at that point of the night, honestly, but we're going to see a lot of trading here. I wouldn't assume that we already talked about how slow the team fights are. Imagine a one-on-one of just, you know, a microcosm of those team fights. Yes, there was action in the bottom lane early, but really I don't see a lot happening elsewhere unless there's jungle pressure. So the dragon getting taken here by Dark Sun, that should go down here to Hotshot Gaming. 1 minute left on the Herald means that they could move up to the Herald, but the vision control is favoring Nightmare Knights on the top side.
Yeah, Nightmare Knights are feeling very, very comfortable here. I've got to imagine that they play with this Zeri infrequently, but it's a pick that they feel pretty comfortable with because Super Glue Bandit is so good on it. And the Trundle is not building the advantage that I think they kind of need. I mean, the Gragas is up 10 CS, and so they're feeling pretty good about the position of the game. And when you're playing at Ignite Trundle top lane, you are looking for early advantages. So them not getting it is going to make this early game feel really good for Nightmare Knights.
Yeah, this is where you're looking for Dark Sun to get that level 6, get to the top lane, and fight that 2v2 that Trundle Viego are going to have a much better time in versus the Gragas Sejuani. So that should be the objective here. The Krugs are up, and we're looking maybe for something mid lane, but I mean, Corey's still halfway in between the towers. You're not going to have an easy time getting to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's much going on.
Nah. The minion at least keep okay. So does have to make the flash because of the minion aggro, or sorry, the minion block. But Corey now not able to flash because of miasma. The ultimate's going to be enough. The poison damage over time was good. Just perfect calculation from Dark Sun and Piecrafter. And I'm not even talking about the calculator 3.14 here.
Yeah, and one of the things about Viego and his stun is that it's like kind of ranged. Viego doesn't have to actually get on top of you for that stun to come out, and that's really deceptive looking, at least the way that the animation kind of comes out. So super well played from Dark Sun, knowing that range, exactly what it was, hit it just barely on the edge, and great follow-up from Piecrafter, getting the miasma down, getting a kill on themselves, feeling really good.
Yeah, and that's going to give them a lot of power to then use that to get this control in the top side, to get this Herald potentially. I mean, Sejuani on the bot side at Krugs, if they know that, if they have any information on it with the Swain W or anything, then that's going to be a free Herald. Recrafters coming down to check things out, but I just realized it's Recrafters and Piecrafters on two separate parts of the team. I'm sure the team fights are going to be really easy on the calls.
Oh yeah, I don't know how you could ever mess that up.
Yeah.
So one thing that I want to note is that after the first 20 seconds of the laning phase, it was looking really difficult for Super Glue Bandit, but after getting that double kill, they have built up an absolutely massive 17 CS lead in this bottom lane, and so the Zeri is going to be scaling up really, really nicely here. I think oftentimes when you're in a matchup that's losing like this and you get that little bit of an advantage, it can feel comfortable to you to kind of play back. You're like, all right, I got a kill, but this is still a losing matchup, so I want to just play it the way the lane is supposed to. But Super Glue Bandit is still building and continuing to further that advantage and hopefully be a big carry for their team as the game continues.
And that's how you win the team fights for sure, but another crucial aspect is keeping Yordle guy down, not giving him the opportunity to get access to this tower and get some gold. But now we've actually got the focus going down on the Demon Bojangles. The Never Move is going to land. The Dark Sun is going to be able to pick up the Nautilus, which is crucial. But Yordle guy actually just going down to Recrafters in a solo kill in the top lane. It's a trade support for top lane, and this is absolutely brutal for Hotshot Gaming, given that honestly, that's one of their big win conditions, losing the lane.
Yeah, I mean, Yordle guy is just playing too aggressively here. Recrafters has already demonstrated a level of comfortability with the Gragas ultimate. I think it's actually a pretty hard ability to use, but once they have already demonstrated that they have that ability and they have those ranges down, you have to play with more respect to that. So when you are normally pushed to the tower, you're feeling fairly confident as the Trundle here, you just get ulted in the tower and pop goes the weasel. You go ahead and die and give up that solo kill, and now you're down flash and ignite. There is not much pressure here for you.
Yeah, Herald is going to be dropped. There's 51 seconds until the dragon, so it's not going to be able to really apply any pressure. Ooh, almost goes down to Piecrafters and Dark Sun. So I let out one of the weirdest sounds of the cast thus far. But Hotshot Gaming still has an opportunity to play towards this dragon, but given how the fights have gone thus far, I don't know if they're excited about it because Zeri is already on shield bow.
This dragon fight, if there is a fight, will be very, very telling for how the game is going to continue moving forward. I think the Zeri is online enough that they will be able to carry this fight. I mean, the Swain rather has a stopwatch. The stopwatch does appear to be activated, so they can make a lot of pressure with that. But the Zeri is already at Mythic, so this fight should be pretty easy for them to execute on, should there be one at this dragon.
And I wouldn't assume, just given the things we talked about and the fact that Darksun is top lane. But the minion says, "Get down, Mr. President," and catches the stun. Recrafter's not sweating a bit. The tower dive is thwarted by a 7 health caster minion.
I mean, this Gragas is doing everything. We've talked a ton about how Super Glue Bandit is really ahead on this Zeri, but look how much pressure Recrafters is absorbing. Winning this lane that needed to be not necessarily won, but needed to go even in a situation where they had every right to lose it. I mean, Recrafters is just playing so well here.
Yeah, and this is where, yes, you're right. I don't think you have to win it necessarily, but I'm going to have to hold that off. The Nevermore is going to be able to hit this area, but you're only delaying the inevitable. Blackout barely makes it out alive as Lamon is going to have to pop the Zonias just to try to delay something. The ultimate's going to heal a little bit, but Demon Bojangles picking that one up for themselves. Super Glue Bandit not too worried about it. We're spreading the love here on the side of Nightmare Knights.
What an excellent play. I mean, they had no vision. You just walk in, throw the Sejuani ult, and I mean, it's 1, 2, 3, super duper easy. And now this bot lane is going to continue to snowball and continue to be a point of pressure as Darksun has to make something happen here.
Recrafters does have ultimate, though. If he can get them on the same side and get them out, that's good. Darksun does buffer the ultimate with his own as Recrafters is going to just saunter literally out of the lane. The investment here is what I wanted to see, but it was whenever you blew the flash earlier. We saw Recrafters have to blow the flash in the early game within 5 minutes of the game starting, and then we didn't see any repeat ganks until the flash was back up. And it's honestly a little too late. A solo kill under the belt, 10 CS up, and it's only going to get worse after that. Yes, Trundle scales, but you need this pressure now, otherwise you're going to bleed resources on the rest of the map.
Especially in a world where your bot lane, who should have been more dominant in the laning phase, isn't ahead. And so now, if you're a Yordle guy on this Trundle, you're like, hey, what the hell do I have to do to build some sort of advantage here? It feels like we're watching one of those Synapse Gragas montages.
Ooh, Demon Bojangles landing the hook of their life right there. As Piecrafters turn ults, gets 3 on it with the Zonias to stay alive. That's going to be fine. The Never Move is going to catch, and Corey's going to go down. Darksun able to pick up the body as Lamon picks up the kill, and we're looking for more. Ultimate back over. The Shroud's going to go down. The movement speed lands, but the stun does not. Sejuani's going to be able to cha-cha slide out of this one. No problem. Watch some chickens go down as well. Lamon picks up a few, points of health as they get out, but at least 1 kill picked up here from Hotshot Gaming to give them a breath of fresh air and a little more confidence heading into the mid game.
Yeah, Piecrafter has been playing really well in the mid lane here. Got a big CS advantage. And I mean, if you're Nightmare Knights, you're just going too hard.
Yep. You're winning bot, you're winning top. You really don't have to do much. You're a Victor who does scale. You're doing okay. It is fine. Cassiopeia now feeling a little bit better. Looking at a Sejuani, looking at a tank Gragas, and looking at a Nautilus. Cassiopeia isn't really too afraid of dying against these comps. And yes, it's going to be tough to get to the Zeri, but at least she's going to be useful no matter what with this setup. So confidence kind of everywhere, it just in different places.
I think Piecrafter does the one thing that they do have to be especially aware of is obviously your vision control has to be pretty on point. You cannot afford to get hit with a Sejuani ultimate in this game. And if Recrafters is able to hit a really great Gragas barrel, that can force the Cassiopeia into a position that she doesn't want to be in. So those will be our things to look out for.
Good point.
But the thing I like that Hotspot Gamers is doing here is Piecrafter on the Cassiopeia is going to be your disengage. And we've already acknowledged Nightmare Knights have to move forward into you in order to do most of their damage, and the Cassiopeia is so happy to play versus that. So having her ahead is going to feel really good for them despite the deficits in the other lanes.
Yeah, and the Viego is still Viego, right? Like whether behind or ahead, it's always going to feel pretty decent as long as you get that one reset. Obviously, a Viego ahead feels a lot better, but it just lends to the belief that Dark Sun is going to find opportunities in some way if Nightmare Knights are not coordinated and are not like coming into these fights all as one. Super Glue Bandit obviously being extremely safe here, and we've beaten that horse to death, but it's so hard not to speculate whenever the early game has gone kind of back and forth. It's a 1.3k gold lead, but right now it just feels like it's gold leads in lanes that are not reciprocated on the other side of the map. Yes, top lane is ahead. Yes, bottom lane is ahead, but it's the mid lane, the jungle, that's ahead for the side of Hotshot Gaming. So optimism kind of flowing everywhere.
Yeah, and I really like how they are kind of approaching this. You're okay to farm it out. I do think the play earlier was a little over aggressive, but overall, Nightmare Knights are in a perfectly fine spot. And once they start grouping, they will be more than okay, as we have a bit of a fight here.
Yeah, this dragon's gonna go down to Dark Sun as its emotional player getting just blown up by Piecrafters. Super Glue Bandit, now you're not with your team. This is not the setup that we agreed upon ahead of time. Dark Sun picking up another one on the backside as well. This fight is split, but the result is resounding. And Dark Sun's going to pick up another one. The Nautilus hook coming through as Viego able to pick up a second kill of the fight. 4 players going down on the side of Nightmare Knights, and this game is back on the side of Hotshot Gaming. The optimism was good, but now it's amazing.
So one of the most important things that Nightmare Knights had to do is they had to be on the same page. If you're not fighting together, you have no chance of winning. And so you're ahead, Zeri is flanking almost. Meanwhile, Emotional Player had already been in the Dragon Pit for like 10 seconds at that point by the time the Zeri even showed up. And then this Victor is just really far behind. So Emotional Player and Corey showing up on one angle is just so easy for Piecrafter and Dark Sun to turn on. And then once your Zeri shows up, hey, they have an exhaust on Blackout here. You get exhausted, it doesn't matter how ahead you are. You are not beating these two champions 1 versus 2. And so Hotspot Gaming making an absolutely huge play to kind of get themselves back into this game. And Piecrafter as well as Dark Sun are set up to be carries in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it was like a 2v1 with Piecrafters and Dark Sun onto Emotional Player. Then they transitioned that into a 2v1 against the Super Glue Bandit. While, I mean, Dark Sun and Piecrafters, Dark Sun and Piecrafters just transitioned that to the Victor and the Nautilus on the top side. Like, they just split the fight, dissecting it from the middle, and then had no problem cleaning up the outsides as well. Surgeons on the Rift.
It is an absolutely beautiful thing to see. And Hotspot Gaming, I like that they are continuing to take these fights. Nautilus ultimate goes down in mid lane, not going to get much out of it. Oh,
Lucian's so
Layman.
mobile, but now Demon Bojangles is in a bad spot. Dark Sun having no problem through the exhaust, and Layman picks up another kill. That's the second in the last 2 minutes. And this Swain now with the Zhonya's Hourglass going to be looking for that mythic. They've got the power right now, and Baron is up. I don't think they're going to look for it. Most likely just looking at Recrafters under this tower as they're bringing all 5 members top lane, and Recrafters is none the wiser. Dark Sun tanking the aggro. Yordle guy able to flash forward and take a bite out of Recrafters and take the kill. The tower not long for this world as they're just cleaning up everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it is Hotspot Gaming who are haunting the dreams of Nightmare Knights, doing their best Freddy Krueger. I mean, they are just rushing things too much. There is no need for Demon Bojangles to just waltz right up onto the Lucian and ult him. You don't have vision on where Dark Sun is. You need to have vision before you can make these plays. There's no need to be aggressive here.
Yeah, and it is just maybe a little bit of lack of map awareness. There was vision in the river and in their jungle where Hotspot Gaming was walking through, and it looked like Recrafters was really caught off guard. I mean, once that veil from Viego came around, it was like Recrafters was like, uh-oh, and tried to body slam out. But I mean, at that point, you're already pincered. It's too late. So maybe a bit more communication. Make sure the wards that are down are supplying with you with the correct information, and you're going to be able to thwart some of those plays. But I mean, right now, Corey at 0-3-0, not feeling great. Recrafters now, after solo killing once, even with this Trundle that we talked about was very crucially even though the gold is a bit one-sided. I am looking at items here. I assume that Yordle guy just needs to back, but I mean, this game is very much in Hotspot Gamers' hands, but we're just waiting for the classic, pitch and catch, let's say.
Definitely. I think that, in the early game where Super Glue Bandit had a really big lead, it was going to be easy for them to play out. But before the game started, we talked about if Piecrafter on the Cassiopeia gets ahead, that is your way to counter the Zeri, even if Super Glue Bandit were to get ahead. And I mean, this Cassiopeia is sitting on 2-0-4, 3 items complete as emotional player being aggressive.
Yeah, there is no emotion about it, just drive at that point. Super Glue Bandit following up as well. The TP coming through from Corey is going to be a commitment, and you're not feeling bad about it. The dragon is spawning. You're looking to even it up in 2. You've got Yordle guy on the top side with no TP, so this is a 4v5 if Hotspot Gamers looks to opt for it. But I don't see an easy way in. You're looking at a Victor that's going to control space really easily, but Dark Sun says, I'm going to absolutely try. Demon Bojangles goes down, and we've got one reset. The heal comes through, but the ultimate isn't going to connect in time. Dark Sun is down, and Recrafters is going to be kiting Piecrafters as best as they can, but we've got one crafter better than the other. Layman picks up a double kill on the backside. Piecrafter picks up a kill against the phonetically rival opponent there, and it's a 4-kill to 1 lead for the Hotspot Gaming as they're looking at Baron after taking 2 towers on the top side during that play the whole time. A 4v5 fight.
And Yordle guy just walking up, say, hey guys, I'm helping. I'm going to go ahead and drop this W down, make this Baron take really, really easy. And Cassiopeia absolutely shreds Baron. Hotspot Gaming are so firmly in control here.
I mean, this is Baron going down to a team that is already trying to split push. The Trundle is going to love this, and I would assume this is at least 1 completed item here for the Trundle, if not 1.5. Yep, the whole breaker coming through. We all saw it coming. There is the half with the pickaxe that we were talking about. I've got my own TI-89 calculator here on the desk as I'm calculating everything possible as well. And now this game is wide open. It's going to take a monumental fight here from Nightmare Knights to just claw back even. They're looking at a 6k deficit.
And Piecrafter has definitely unleashed some of those 8 gates, playing out of their mind right this second. They have dropped the ankle weights, and they are going crazy. It kind of feels like Nightmare Knights is Gara right now, just getting pounded by the Rock Lee in the mid lane. Oh, sorry if I spoiled Naruto for anybody. It's like a 15-year spoiler, though, so...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're okay. Speaking of, potentially never, I would piss off too many anime people. We're now taking down the 2nd-tier turret of the mid lane. Blackout's going to be able to safely do that with the E in the pocket, and Dark Sun pressuring a little bit with that veil. Layman, though, looming in this fight. I loved to see how present they were in the last 2 fights, just walking forward into the team saying, you really cannot walk past me, otherwise you will die just to the damage. As Demon Bojangles is going to have to ult before he dies, does not get it off. We go down ultless, and Layman's going to be looking to pull somebody in. The never move does catch emotional player, has to flash out, and that's not going to be enough. We get right back in. Layman picks up 1. We've got everybody dying, in fact. Piecrafter's already picking up another, and this is the same thing we saw last time. A 4-man squad just rolling the team fight as Yordle guy wins on the opposite side. This could be game.
Playing versus Viego is just so difficult. It's so hard to remember, the champion that he takes over as Recrafters. Does Lucian have a Bork? I don't know about that one. But either way, I mean, it's really difficult to kind of track the champion that the Viego becomes in a fight. I think you almost have to communicate it, because then you have to play around a set of abilities that you're not expecting to have to play around
Yeah.
in the fight. And so, whenever you're in a team fight, you're kind of focused on what, like, yourself, what you need to communicate, how you need to play it in order to play the fight properly. And so whenever the Viego kind of takes over, you're like, wait a second, they don't have any hook champs on their team. What happened? It's because, unfortunately, the Nautilus went down first and made it really, really easy to create follow-up in that fight.
Yeah, and now we've got Dragon. That's going to be the next fight. They're going to let Yordle Guy do whatever he wants at this point. You've got Baron empowered minions, and really, you're kind of dancing around this Dragon. You're just trying to buy time. Maybe this Recrafters on the Gragas extends a little too far, and Yordle Guy is able to close the gap and create more pressure, in which then Nightmare Knights has to send reinforcements. But, I mean, that's such a hard spot, because if you send reinforcements, you give up the Dragon. If you don't give up the Dragon, then you might lose the side lane to this Trundle. So a bit of a checkmate here if they play it out. I know that vision control is going to be very important, but it doesn't look like they're controlling the bottom side of the map where the Dragon is. It looks like they're trying to go top side and catch Yordle Guy as a trade.
I just feel like you have to, but so slippery.
Yeah.
You just drop the pillar and walk away. Yeah. And with the added resistances that the Hullbreaker is going to give, I mean, these three champions, the Sejuani, Nautilus, and the Gragas, they ain't killing nothing here.
Okay, Gragas TPing in Yordle Guy's face, but he doesn't have the pillar. Oh, barely doesn't have the pillar in time, as Raycrafters feels like he's got to get back to base. Otherwise, Hotspot Gaming just takes it. And now you've got that 4v5 situation again, except it's the other way. Yordle Guy just a little bit behind, but I mean, if you're trying to engage, once again, who are you getting to? I mean, Layman is going to have no problem here trying to dissuade you from doing that. Piecrafter says bring it on as well. And that just gives Darksun a chance to reset whoever goes in a little disjointed.
Yeah, meanwhile, Yordle Guy is in the top lane creating pressure as well. Got some lo-fi hip-hop playing, not even listening to the team, doing their own thing.
But the heavy metal belongs to Hotspot Gaming. Emotional player getting caught by the never move and pulled into the miasma, goes down. This is going to be more, though. Layman is able to get one pop on it and just starts tower diving both turrets. Has no problem, but in fact, the problem is there. You can, yes, you are a Swain ulting in front of 4 people, but you're ulting in front of 4 people and 2 towers. You go down. You just cost your team at least the push, but they can fall back to the consolation prize, and that's going to be the 3rd Cloud Dragon.
And they're perfectly fine with that. I mean, if Layman wants to make a little bit of a happy play in exchange for taking down 3 inhibitors at 29 minutes into this game, you're perfectly fine with that, right? And so, honestly, I think if the Swain had gone Moonstone there, they probably lived that. That's how broken this champion is. So you're perfectly comfortable backing off. I like the aggressive play. You're 8k gold ahead. It is good to find out your limits and find out where you're able to create pressure and end the game in a situation like this. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And this is going to give them full control of the map. Baron is going to be up for grabs. And I say up for grabs very, very loosely, because this is Hotspot Gamers Baron right here. There is no way that Nightmare Knights can leave the base with 6 super minions in every 30 seconds crashing onto the base. Just no shot. So Baron's going to go down, but this means that those super minions are going to be even harder to push through. This Zeri does not have a ton of AoE like she normally does with the Titanic. And yes, the Victor does, but there's so much magic resistance given to the minions with the Baron buff that, I mean, this could be the final push if they don't dive again.
I like the adaptation here from Super Glue Bandit, going ahead and grabbing the Runan's Hurricane.
Yeah.
That's going to give a little bit more of the AoE, but man, it is just such a hard spot for them to play here.
And the waves are a little disjointed, so they're going to be able to clear them out one after another, but it's Layman on this Swain into the miasma from Piecrafters with the never move pull into the zone. That's really locking down everybody. Emotional player and Recrafters with such large hitboxes, not very easy to dodge, and in that solo focus that they can do with Darksun, Yordle Guy, and Blackout has already proven to be a potent combo, and that's what they're just fishing for here, as we see even more of that right now.
hmm And when you're facing off against a situation like this, where you have three inhibitors down, as you mentioned, you have supers crashing in literally every single wave, two supers in every single wave, it is easy to lose track of every single thing because there's so
Yeah.
many things on your screen at once. So you're clearing out, a double, potentially triple stacked minion wave on your Nexus turrets, and it's really easy to miss a Swain E that gets thrown in the middle of it.
The saving grace, though, is the range here on the side of Hotspot Gaming. They can't get to the tower very easily, but Dark Sun says we don't care, except they have to. Super Glue is able to pick him up before he even gets one reset. Layman now going to be the next focus as he's standing forward. Blackout barely getting out with their
Putting out all
lives.
the damage.
Piecrafters goes into Zonia's and still is able to get the kill from the Twin Fangs, picking it up right at the last moment. Layman surviving against all odds. Super Glue Bandit going into melee range for some reason is going to pay for it themselves. Emotional player, and I know why. It's tears here. Tears on the side of Nightmare Knights as Hotspot Gaming takes him out of the frying pan and puts him into the fire. They win this game, this scrim against Nightmare Knights, taking it and capping off the night.
Emotional player, more like emotional damage. Layman on the Swain, sitting underneath two Nexus. Please, Riot. What an absolutely great dive.
Was just to garner experience. And then you get to beat them at a game that you've already played before. You did your homework. You're coming into the test prepared. And the second tower dive under two turrets, that's where we get you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you don't expect the support to be the one diving you underneath your towers. It's this champion is just so strong in these
Yeah.
games. And although we were talking a lot about the Moonstone build and how powerful that build is, going damage is still really, really nice on this champion. So absolutely well played from them.
Yeah. And we can get an interview here before we go out. If anybody would like to pull in, Matt, if you don't mind getting something like that. But uh, I mean, fun game. I talked about eating my words whenever Hotspot Gaming kind of wins a fairly quick routine ish game, which they did. I would give them credit. They absolutely pulled that one out. The Zeri, even despite getting the early two kills, not able to transition that into the dragon fights that we saw later on. It really crumbled there, honestly, in my mind, with that dragon fight, with emotional player dying in the pit, and then the Zeri getting caught out on the bottom side, with the Nautilus and the Victor getting caught out on the mid. It was just, it really kind of like folding in that moment, and just
Mhm.
taking a one game here on the side of Nightmare Knights with a 1.2k gold lead into like a 3k swing back the other way. So
Welcome.
here, yep, we've
We
got
have
this
Mim here with us.
the double Nexus turret two timer on the dive with the Swain. Hey, welcome, congrats on the win.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah,
Cool.
shout out to the other team. They did pretty good too.
Yeah,
So
for
I
sure.
I want to ask you, kind of going into the game. I know it's obviously a scrim game. It's not an official match, but when you look at the OP, the first thing that anybody would notice is super glue and their proficiency on the Zeri.
Yeah.
But you guys left it up, so I'm curious. Were you guys feeling really confident into the pick, or did you just want practice against it? What was you guys' mindset going into that?
So yeah, that was something we discussed. We were between banning. We saw he played Lucian as well, and he was doing pretty good with Lucian as well. And we just kind of went, we'd rather play into Zeri than Lucian.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the plan was just to pick up Lucian before they can pick him up, and then
Yeah.
we'll work
Was
with
the
that.
Nautilus something you were considering picking up as well before they obviously first picked it, or
Yeah, it was one of our backup picks.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I talked about it during the draft night. I honestly think it was a really good adaptation, given that the Knights were pretty obviously they were pretty sure y'all weren't going to pick up the Zeri, and
Mhm.
given that it was a focus, picking up Zeri's biggest counter can be a very advantageous thing. And I mean, we already talked about it. Getting the 2-0 start for the Zeri feels like a dream, but whenever the hotspot gamers play it as well as they did, it's like, yeah, it almost doesn't matter what kind of lead you had. So tell us
And
about what you felt like was the big like pivot point for you guys.
Probably the dragon fight.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It felt like it from our end, but honestly, in game, like sometimes it's just totally different.
And I'm curious about how you guys. I think it's really easy whenever you see something like that. Whenever you see like, oh, this player is an OTP of this champion, you leave it up, and then they build that advantage in the early game. It's easy to be like, oh man, it's going to be really difficult from here. But it seemed like you guys never really wavered from what
Yeah,
your plan was. So how was your communication kind of going after the Zeri gets the double and starts to get ahead? How was your communication and kind of you guys' mindset moving forward from there?
Oh, we were just like, we need to play back now, so we weren't like too bothered by it because we knew we could work around that. So our like as a team, we decided we'd play top side as strong side after that. So
yeah.
we're just playing back.
Yeah,
And
and that opens up the map for you guys.
yeah.
You were able to win a 4v5 fight into Dragon. I think it was the third dragon of the game there, and
Mhm.
in that was like a have your cake and eat it too, because not only did you
Yeah.
win the lopsided fight there, but Trundle got 2 towers on the top side and made it to where like every Baron that they ever wanted to play for was way harder.
hmm Yeah, we
So
were a bit 50-50 on that fight, but I saw
yeah,
like everyone stacked up, and I was just like,
yeah,
we can take this, and even if
yeah.
we end up trading even, that's gonna be good for us because we have Trundle top pushing it down.
Yep. And Dark Sun actually going down first in that fight, I was so sure. I was like, "Oh my gosh, we've got to throw." But I mean, just champ diff, right? I mean, uh it was Pie
Release
Crafters
date
on
diff.
yeah, I mean, Pie Crafters on the Cassiopeia just like melting through their tanks. Obviously, you on the Swain, just establishing a front line from the support position that they literally have to invest 4 champions to kill you. It I mean, it felt crazy, honestly, watching it. So
Yeah,
really good stuff.
I think it was a champ select diff, just like our
It
team
can
comp.
happen.
Yeah, our team comp was just kind of built for dealing with that kind of team comp.
Yep. Well, looking forward into the rest of the season, do you mind? I mean, can you tell me where you guys are at now as far as standings and what your match is tomorrow?
Uh, is tomorrow's Monday?
Or
Sorry
oh
about
wait,
that.
y'all wait, do you play
Oh,
on Monday?
oh no, we got moved to Monday because someone can't
Oh,
make it
okay.
tomorrow.
Ah, I
Yeah,
see, I see, I see.
Got it, got it. Okay, so who do you guys play on Monday?
I actually don't know yet.
Faceless opponents, you can't beat them. They don't care
Yeah,
who you are. They're gonna stomp you into the dirt.
feeling really confident, I would imagine going into that. So can you tell us? Do you have anything that we can expect? Are we expecting a banger game? What hype us up a little bit going into
Yeah.
this match on Monday?
Yeah,
That you don't
no,
know the
we're just
opponent of.
we got a new jungler and I'm new as well. We're just figuring things out. I'm
Awesome.
expecting good things because we got some good chemistry going on.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Lemon, for joining us. I appreciate it. Everybody watching here on the Astral eSports broadcast, tomorrow is the Paladins action. You got a little taste of it here. Obviously, some banger fights, some crazy moments. So make sure to swing by tomorrow night. Check it out. You're going to have a great time. That's going to be it from me and Pray. Appreciate you, Pray, for joining me. We'll be back here next Thursday for more Titans League action as well. So make sure join the Discord, follow the stream. You don't want to miss anything, guys. Thank you so much for welcoming me back for the second or my second season, the third total. I will see you guys next week.